we have a sweet one going up. I cannot wait. You know, there's something about this knife blank here. I started maybe 6 or 8 months ago, and I had this wacky idea to put this crazy rounded or swept fuller in there. And in my mind, I felt like I could do it, and I ran through, and you're hearing the lift out there. Lots of action going on out front the last few days. But I just couldn't get it just right. And so I gave up on it, and I set it back for a few months. And then this was still several months ago. I picked it up again. I said, I think I'm going to take another crack at that fuller, and I was playing with it, and I couldn't get the line just right. Well, this week, I saw it there. I never had quite a full batch to go in for heat treat, so I said, you know what, I'm going to take another crack at that knife. I've got a brand new Scotch-Brite surface conditioning belt for the belt grinder, so I said, I think that would do what I want to do, which is make those lines flow nice and smooth. And so finally, I got it taken care of, and I got that shape on there just like I wanted in the fuller, which is beautiful. And then I said, a knife that's been undergo for this long and this nice of a kitchen knife, this thing is ground super, super thin. It's going to be a performer. But it's got to have something nice. So I found these couple little nubs of mammoth tooth. Sometimes clients send in mammoth tooth for buck 110s or custom knives, and you end up with just these little nubs of offcuts that are not really any good for anything, but I put them back because of what they are, and I find uses for them sometimes. In this case, this knife had a really slender ground tang here, really slender, and these little nubs fit right on. Otherwise, they'd be pretty much useless, other than to make like a little lanyard bead or something like that. But excited. And then I have some synthetic pearl here. This is, like I said, synthetic, like a Kirinite or something. But this is just going to be beautiful. The lines look great. It's all cured up. Now we get to go with the fun part. Get it in on the grinder. Let's hit the bandsaw first. We'll hack off some of this bulk here so we don't clog up our grinding belts. I've just been here working on this hand sanding, And both of these materials are tough, very tough. Actually, the black in this one is almost the same as this. It's like an epoxy, like a resin pour, and it's just hard to not show scratches. So I've hand sanded up to 1000 grit now. We'll get it on the buffer and see this come to life. And this will not grab any type of gloss. You just are not able to hand sand it to have any real, what I'd call a gloss. Like, I mean, you can pick some light off of it, but look at the tang at 1000 grit. Beautiful reflection, and this just looks chalky. That's a different spot with the right buffing wheel, the right buffing compound. Well, let's see what we can do. Just have a look here real quick at these 2 spiral wheels. Same material, but notice the sewing of the spiraling on this one versus this one. This is a much tighter stitching pattern, and so this wheel is very hard, and you really can't pull the wheel apart. It's nice, firm, does good heavy buffing work. This one here, you can pull the weave. Now I'm almost into a stitch here now, but this is a softer finish wheel. It opens up. Look at this. You can flap the wheel around. It's a softer finish, and so it's a little nicer for materials like this that you don't want to carve into or melt. This is a nicer choice. This is my compound of choice. You've got to be delicate here, because you can actually cut in and just melt this almost like a PVC. This stuff is a little bit harder. Nice light passes. I'm not breezing in, and I'm going slow. I'm moving over the surface nice and quick. Okay, we're at the sharpening sink, and we haven't been for a while. Let's do a refresher. I've got, well, first off, this is like a laundry sink. This works beautiful. If you got a workshop, put in a laundry tub sink, because they're so deep. You can store all your stones down in here if you want. It's great for wash up. You can put parts down in there or whatever projects you're working on. Just really nice, and you can have a lot of mess, and it's just a cheap plastic sink. They're really economical. But I have this is fixed in place. It's across the sink, and it works nice because everything runs off, and the bit that comes back towards me, I've got groove here, so everything stops here and channels off to either side. But this is the Naniwa basic stone holder. This is like 30 something bucks, 40 bucks Canadian, and it is awesome. It's the right height. It's a sticky rubber, so it'll bite onto your kitchen countertop, your granite well or whatever. And we're gonna be starting today with the Shapton Kuramaku Blue Black. This is a 300 plus grit stone. I've got quite a bit of curve in her there now, but that's okay, not worth me taking the time to flatten today. So you can just snug this up, or you can just keep close to snug, and then all your stones will kind of fit. You'll also want a dressing stone. In my opinion, this is absolutely essential. This is made by Naniwa. This is called their dressing stone, or a nagiri is another name for them. This is a 600 grit one, but it is so good at cleaning up these stones. This stone is a splash and go, but it is a little bit thirsty, so you have to just keep an eye on it, because you do want your stone nice and wet. And now, this is a very thinly ground knife. But there's no edge. I'm just going to do a couple passes and just do what I would call jointing the edge. I'll just take off that first layer of steel, and now we're going to start. So I have no edge, so I get to pick my angle from scratch. I'm going to pick a nice thin angle. So find it on the stone.
get to work. I'm going to aggressively work. I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on this knife. And now I won't go all the way till I create a burr, because then all of my edge is to one side. And I won't do full length strokes. I might work here for a little bit, work in the middle. Now when I can see, I've worked about the same amount of time on each side of the blade. When I can see that I'm pretty well to an apex, or even have an apex, just starting, I'll go full length strokes on one side, and I'll just blend that edge in real nicely. And what I want to do is every once in a while check by drawing off this side of the blade. Let me show you what I'm doing. That right there. And you should feel a drag against your finger, a prickle against your finger all the way along. And I can see right here in the center, I have a real nice texture. And that's that burr forming. So there are areas on the blade where I don't have it real good yet. So I'll just do a little bit more. I'm starting to lighten up pressure here now. So I have a burr all the way along there now, real crisp texture. I'll come over to the other side, nice light pressure. And I'll spend a little bit of time and it'll lessen that burr, it'll refine it a little bit, push it back to the other side. And it's here, guys, on the coarse stone that most of your sharpening, pretty much all of it, gets done. Oh, that's such a coarse bite. So, yeah, so there's a little bit of burr now pushed to the other side, but much less of a burr. We'll do just a few single light cutting strokes. The edge off of this stone, this 300 and so grit stone alone, would be an incredible performer in the kitchen, but it would just be a beautiful performer, because most of your sharpening happens here now. After this one, you're just refining. Your goal is not to remove a bunch of steel. After this, it's just to refine that edge. And it's not a perfect proof, guys, but just to show you proof. Again, that's a 300 and something grit stone. You see that? This knife is sharp. Look at that. This would be a beautifully performing knife. And for like a butcher or something, this would be fantastic edge you could produce here. Now, let's switch out and go over to, this is Shapton Glassstone 1000. Just an incredible stone. If you want a great finish edge, that 300 odd grit stone, yeah, I'll make an argument and say it's a coarse edge and would be a very sharp edge, crisp with tons of texture, and would perform well, but it's a little on the coarse side. But this 1000 here would do all you'd ever want your edge to do, pretty much. Unless you were doing like fine grade sushi, like on a sashimi knife or something like that. This 1000 is just plenty. You can see how that dressing stone just skimmed off the surface, took everything off. We've got nice fresh cutting particle. There, let me correct the ISO for you guys. A little bit too bright. But listen to the sound texture difference with this stone, just beautiful. We'll work now to remove all the scratches from the other stone, and that'll happen real quickly. Because a 340 to a 1000 is not a huge jump. Let's just have a look here. I can see I've pretty much perfectly contacted the bevel all the way along. That's just beautiful. I'll switch sides now already. This is a short edge. This is not a long bladed knife, so you can do full length passes. And what I mean by that is I can work the edge from heel to toe with every pass if I want. The stone is plenty big for that. Whereas if you had a smaller stone, you might want to work a bit back, or a smaller stone or a bigger knife, work a bit here and then work a bit out here. Still using a fair amount of pressure here now, forward and back strokes. Use both, no need to reset every time like a file. Now, I'm almost to the edge, finished with this stone already. I'll just use cutting strokes, still a fair amount of pressure here. And if I have run this knife, both sides, gotten rid of those 340 grit scratches, replaced them with 1000, and I've gotten right to the apex, right to the tip of the edge, I should have a real nice edge here now. Yeah, just a vicious bite, just a flesh grabbing bite here now all the way along. If I drag off, not really a detectable burr at this point, but you should have an edge that really grabs. Let's go from there to a Naniwa Aotoshi. This is the one they call the green brick of joy. I haven't said that in a while. That's what they call this stone. This is such like a milky, creamy stone. 2000 grit. Not a ceramic. This is just a beautiful polishing stone. We'll get a lovely polish. And once you've used this stone, you get an idea for why they have nicknamed it that, because it is just a joyful stone to use. So nice. My buddy Peter Nolan up in Halifax, I believe he's worn these out with use. Just incredible. I don't spend the time on the stones these days like I used to, but I still love a good stone sharpening session. And this 2000 grit Aotoshi, if you're looking to invest in a nice polishing stone, this is it. Just incredible polishing capabilities, even though it doesn't sound so high. It's not these incredible numbers like you hear on some of these videos. But you don't need a 12,000 grit stone to create a beautiful gleaming polish. Still such a crisp edge. Let's switch to a harder stone and go up a little higher grit. This is a Naniwa Professional 5000. Look at that gloss face on there. Just beautiful. This is a very hard stone. The Professional series have extremely hard surfaces. And I'm just going to work this just a little bit, not a lot. Just for kicks, just to get to enjoy the stone for a minute. Notice my wrists, my hands, my fingers do not move. All the movement is in my upper arms and elbows. That way my hands kind of act as a jig. They don't change any shapes. Helps me control so I'm not doing this. You don't want a whole bunch of convexing. You will do that to some degree, but for the most part, you're at a fixed angle. Just a wild polish on there now. A few cutting strokes. beautiful. Oh, that's such a beautiful edge. But don't change the channel just yet. We are going over to a Naniwa Professional 10,000 grit stone. This is a wildly expensive stone, very expensive stone. paulsfinest.com has treated me very well. I've gotten some stones with Paul that I might not have ever gotten brave enough to invest in because of how he's treated me. So very grateful. But he just has a phenomenal shop there, guys. If you want to check out paulsfinest.com, just an incredible selection and at great prices. He has so much on there. Great guy too, knows his stuff. This is a 10,000. Also very hard and brittle stone. Not for your everyday user or your starter. Oh, and we're going to be done with that. Let's do just a couple featherweight cutting strokes. Why not? We're not getting anything, I'll say, detectably different at this point. We're just having fun. Now I'll try to show you that edge. Gone are the days where I'm willing to shave my arm hair or leg hair, or I used to treetop the top of my head. Not going at that these days. Too risky. Too risky. They're too valuable. It'll start even on that cut edge. It just doesn't slide on it at all. See that? Two layers. Doesn't slide at all. The plastic doubles over, but that's not a real easy thing to do. Not a real easy cut. Look at that. A little bit of receipt paper out of the Interact machine. That's just, I mean, look at that, where it didn't quite fold. Went out through. Paper at this level of edge, it's a job to detect anything from it because it's just so sharp.
And they are Christian in a lot of sense, but the contention comes in how does someone become saved? Well, that really is the pivotal point of contention.
Historically, we could look back at some of the councils, and some of them had legitimate things. We're not nullifying anything and everything that
So here is the finished project. Check out Noseworthy.com. This was a passion project, and I just love this piece. If you go there and it's not listed, there and it says out of stock, it means I kept it for myself, because this is one, man, I wouldn't mind keeping. Just a beautiful premium leather sheath. Check out the burnishing on those edges. Oh, the fit is just right. Then of course we have that super versatile blade. Just a gorgeous satin finish. Look at that polish on that edge. We have that mammoth tooth polished tang, and then that pearloid synthetic. Really hard to show the like wildness of that pearloid. Really hard to show, but you can kind of see it there. There's so much metallic and craziness going on in those scales. It's just hard to see. You can see that beautiful polish. But just very happy with this piece. Happy with this day. What a beautiful day here. Look at this. We've had rain, wind, and cold all spring so far. Just miserable weather. But it's beautiful today. The sun's shining today. The shop is in full swing. The knife shop, I'm here ripping today. Putting through orders, mailing out orders. Just having a blast. The auto shop is going in full swing. Some long-standing jobs been getting finished up. Very exciting. Thanks so much for your support. KyleNoseworthy.com to shop for this beauty and my other stock that's on there. More stock coming regularly. Keep an eye. Don't always put up videos or emails. Probably should, but keep an eye out. Check out my Facebook page, my Instagram page. I'm on pretty much all of it, except for this kid, this young person stuff, Snapchat and what's that other one? TikTok. These ones like that. I'm not on there, but thanks so much for watching. We'll see ya in the next video.